It's 1 p.m. Cairo local time. You're watching Nile TV International live from Cairo. Time for the news. I'm Nasreen Behar. We'll be back with the headlines. Cabinet discusses plans to start coronavirus vaccination campaign. The global death toll of the coronavirus reaches 2.5 million. And U.S. warns that patience on Iran talks not unlimited. Welcome back. Time for the news in full. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli headed the weekly cabinet meeting to discuss a number of important social and economic files. During the meeting, the Prime Minister gave his directives to form a ministerial committee to ease the procedures of property registration at notary offices. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister stressed the necessity of following up the procedures for registering the names of the elderly and chronic disease patients in order to receive the coronavirus vaccine. Still with the local news, Egyptian Drug Authority granted emergency license to 2 coronavirus vaccines in the framework of the vaccination campaign against COVID-19. The vaccines are Russia's Sputnik 5 and South Korea's important AstraZeneca. The authority approved the 2 vaccines after undergoing the assessment needed to prove their safety, quality and efficacy according to local and international standards. The move brings to 4 the total number of vaccines approved by the authority for urgent use against coronavirus after the earlier licensing of China's Sinopharm and the British-produced AstraZeneca vaccines. Egypt reported on Wednesday 644 new coronavirus infections, bringing the total number of cases to 180,051 people since the outbreak hit the country in mid-February last year. The Health Ministry also reported 52 new deaths, bringing the total number of fatalities to 9,804. The ministry added that 389 patients were discharged from hospitals, rising the number of those who have recovered to 139,072 people. The coronavirus has caused at least 2.5 million deaths around the world since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. The U.S. is the worst affected country, followed by Brazil, Mexico, India and Britain. Meanwhile, EU leaders meet Thursday under pressure to speed up Europe's coronavirus vaccine rollout and divided over border closures and what introducing vaccine travel certificates could mean. The video summit for the leaders of the 27-nation bloc comes a year into the COVID-19 crisis, as most of the EU is experiencing a second wave of cases that stubbornly won't diminish. And moving to Libya, U.S. Ambassador to Libya, Richard Norland, called on Speaker of Libya's House of Representatives, Aqila Saleh, to convene a session as soon as possible to approve the new executive authority. A tweet on the embassy's official account said Washington stressed on the importance of the House of Representatives' vote of confidence for the new authority as a key step towards holding the elections in December. Saleh called on the government to respect the outcomes of the Libyan political dialogue and Cairo Declaration. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration announced that its patience is not unlimited with Iran as it renewed an offer for talks on its nuclear program. The United States on February 18th offered to meet with Iran under the auspices of the European Union in a bid to revive a nuclear deal trashed by former President Donald Trump. The White House press secretary separately said that the United States was still awaiting Iran's response to the European invitation for a meeting. Iran publicly has insisted on its position that the United States needs to lift all sanctions before Tehran returns to compliance. Iran this week began limiting the International Atomic Energy Agency's access to sites and other information in response to the U.S. refusal to lift sanctions immediately. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said on Thursday he had fired the head of the General Staff of Armenia's armed forces after the military called for his resignation in a statement. Pashinyan has faced protests and calls to resign after what his critics say was the disastrous handling of a 6-week conflict between Azerbaijan and ethnic Armenian forces over the region of Nagorno-Karabakh last year. Pashinyan has rejected calls to step down on Thursday. He called on his followers to rally in central Yerevan to support him. Well, that ends our news for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Nسرين Bهاء, and for more news you can follow us on our website www.nileinternational.net. Thank you for watching and wait for another update on Top of the Hour.